Leona.
It's the mall country. Usually shows them that.
Don't fucking. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Retros Network. This is another episode of the Cup of Life podcast. I'm your host, of course, Matthew Nguyen. It's your boy. Joined by my longtime friends, Steve Lee.
What's up?
And Khoa Vu.
What's up?
I mean, Khoa, you've seen a lot on the podcast. He's been on a bunch of Weebcasts and my co-host on that show. He's been on a bunch of movie reviews, and he's been on, of course, the Cup of Life. Steve, this is your first time. I just want to ask you, I mean, we're in some trying times right now. I mean, we've been stuck in the house for a couple months now because of, the coronavirus, and there's just been a lot of turmoil in America itself, just a lot of racially charged stuff. How have you just been dealing with everything?
Honestly, I haven't been doing much. Maybe just staying home, catching up with my Netflix and Disney Plus shows and movies, and then doing a little bit of research because as I'm going into my freshman year of college, I kind of want to be prepared and kind of know what kind of process it takes to become successful.
How about you, Khoa?
Pretty much same as Steve. I've just been trying to, instead of TV shows, I'm trying to clear out my game library. I have a lot of games on backlog. I've been playing Warzone with the boys. And then since gyms opened up recently, I've been going to the gym. But that's, of course, following social distancing guidelines and, wearing a mask and stuff. And also wiping down your machines afterwards. So, I mean, if you're going out, make sure just, stay safe, wear a mask, and then follow social distancing guidelines. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's just like we try to be protective during quarantine. We try to do the most that we can, just like in schoolwork, whatever. But it's just like hard. I mean, there's so much distractions everywhere. It's just fucking distractions everywhere. It's just so difficult to just stay focused. You know what I mean? So then, you see that as a pre-procedure school, but then what were the steps you guys took just to get there?
Well, what do you mean steps? Like, where do you want to start out?
I mean, like, yeah, I guess the stats or like just like late night studying, like you have to sacrifice stuff in order to get to UCLA. Like, what can people expect if they want to get to UCLA? What would any advice you could give them?
Honestly, my advice is not to worry about your GPA as much and focus on other stuff. Like, UCs definitely do want kind of like this Renaissance student kind of archetype where like, oh, you're good at everything. But at the same time, they want you to stand out in a certain field or like to show your passion in a certain field. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's important to have the good grades, but like if you like go a step above and beyond and like do something that makes you stand out, then you'll just be more overall appealing as a student. And then again, that goes on top of like writing really good PIQs in order to make yourself stand out as an applicant even more, because like these admission counselors are reading thousands of applications. UCLA was the most applied to school. Was it like, Steve, you remember, it was like 200,000? Or was it
130,000 this year, I think.
Really?
Uh-huh.
And it was like, how many people got in for the freshman class? It was like
they had room for 6,000.
6,000, right?
Well, editor notes thing. Yeah, but
yeah. So the first round acceptance rate was like definitely less than
15. It was probably like last year's it was 12. This year it's probably 11 to 12 as well.
Yeah. So yeah, if you think you're smart, like your GPA, just keep in mind that the students who are applying to UCLA as well definitely probably have the same GPA as you, if not more inflated because of certain classes they take. So definitely really focus on making yourself stand out more outside of your GPA.
Just to add on, like, what did you do specifically to help you stand out in the application process?
So, unlike Steve, who was definitely more extracurricular heavy than I was, I didn't do a lot of extracurriculars. I mean, I focused on what I did best, and that was my schoolwork and my standardized test taking. But I still did volunteer. I was in Illumination Foundation Club, which is a club dedicated to kind of like ending the cycle of poverty in Southern California. But I wasn't always like, oh, I didn't go for board or anything. I was just like a member who really enjoyed going to their club activities, and that was something I wrote about in my PIQs as well. But I also volunteered, kind of like every week at Orange Coast Memorial Hospital, a hospital in Fountain Valley, for like 4 hours every weekend. Just taking time out of my own day. So my advice would definitely be like, go out and see what your community has to offer in terms of you giving back to your community, and that really help you stand out as a student.
The thing with any college application is that you need to kind of plan during your high school year. So what I'd advise you doing is kind of get like a glimpse of what you want to do after high school during your freshman and sophomore years. And then during those times as well, you would also want to like start going to clubs and seeing what you like and kind of what your passion is. And this applies to like any college in general. Like if you want to go to UCLA, or if you're looking to go to more prestigious schools like the Ivies or Stanford, or even USC, the University of South Carolina, right?
University of South Carolina, yeah, of course.
University of South Carolina.
Southern California, USC.
University of Southern California.
University
University of South Carolina, yeah.
The Gamecocks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's the actual USC, right?
Yeah, you're talking about the Gamecocks, and yeah.
Just kind of plan what you want to do beforehand, and then like during your junior and senior year, that's when you really solidify and kind of you have to get like a firm grasp of what you want to do. So during these times, you also take your SAT, kind of make sure that your GPA isn't like tanking, and then because a lot of seniors actually they kind of they get hit with senioritis. So as soon as they apply to college, they kind of realize, oh, I already applied to college, there's nothing else that I can do. But a lot of the times they don't know that your second semester senior grades is actually really important, and that it can actually affect whether or not you get your acceptance rejected or like taken back from them. And then so what I did during my freshman and sophomore year is I was only like active in one thing, and that was just basketball, and that's what took up a lot of my time. So I didn't have a lot of other time to focus on other things that I wanted to do. But as soon as I quit basketball, I kind of expanded, because with a lot of colleges these days are looking for like, they do a holistic review, which is like all around like review of your application. So even if you have good grades, but if you don't have the extracurriculars, you need to be able to kind of show why you didn't have those extracurriculars with your GPA and stuff. So what I did is I did a lot of leadership. So I did 2 years of leadership in my student government as well as Link Crew, and then I also focused around like academic and cultural clubs such as like the California Scholarship Federation and VACC. And on the UC application, they have room for 20 different extracurriculars and awards, but I only filled out about 5 of them.
Yeah, I kind of agree with your point where you said that we should go into the application process prepared, kind of knowing where we want to end up. It's like walking down a path, not really knowing your destination. Is that a really good idea, I would feel like. And then I think also choosing your college also based off of this, right, is it pretty important? Would you guys agree with me?
Yeah, definitely. Knowing the college you're applying to, or like your dream school, and reading over like previous applicants, like what they did to get in, is definitely very important, because different colleges definitely do look for different things, because not all colleges will be STEM focused, or not all colleges will be heavily arts focused, so it's like definitely looking into the college and what they specialize in, and then seeing like how that college fits you as an individual, and just really exploring every single option you have is definitely a very important thing to do in high school.
That shit is tough, bro. Man, I fucking remember doing my college application. I fucking wrote something out, jerked off, and called it a night, bro. I was like, fuck. Anyways, I know just specifically for you guys applying to UCs, you'd have to have the good grades, like, right, and like just the good standardized tests. Like, what are some of your raw stats, just to hear them?
So my ACT was a 35, and my SAT was a 1510, and GPA is different in the sense that UCs, like if you're applying to a University of California, they calculate your GPA differently. Like it won't so much factor in your freshman and your senior year grades as much as your sophomore and your junior year grades, because those are the 2 years that really matter in the calculations. But that doesn't mean you should slack off senior year, because many schools definitely have contracts in which you must uphold a certain grade point average in order to be still considered an applicant or enrolled student. So yeah, but I don't remember what my UC GPA was, but I think it was like 4.1 or something like that. So I mean, but my raw GPA, I think, or not raw, but the GPA that showed up on my transcripts was like something close to like 4.5, 4.6.
Hey, you got UCLA, man. Own your scores.
So like, there are 2 types of UCLA students. There's people like him, there's people like me who don't know how they got in. So my SAT was a 1400, and then my ACT was a 27. which is equivalent to I think an 1120 on the SAT. Yeah. So, and then my GPA, I think my GPA is actually what kind of boosted my application. My UC GPA was a 4.25 and my high school GPA was a 4.6.
Yeah, and I mean, I think an important thing that a lot of these students or a lot of aspiring students should remember is that like the GPA is really important and the raw scores are really important. But at a certain threshold, at that point, your extracurriculars carry you because you had a lot of extracurriculars, right, Steve?
So that's what I was saying. Like definitely, they're definitely looking for students who are just more than grades. I mean, honestly, Steve says that he doesn't know how I got it. I don't know how I got in either. I mean, I got rejected from Stanford and stuff, so it's like kind of like takes a hit to your confidence. But at the same time, it's like I like you like kind of like once you get into like certain colleges, you kind of have this kind of like imposter syndrome. Like oh, like compared to these students who are like have all these awards and like all these extracurriculars, like how did I make the cut? You know what I mean? Because UCLA is a very prestigious school.
And usually what colleges look for is that you wanna show like dedication. So if you're planning to join clubs just for your resume, I don't know how that'll work out for you, but usually it doesn't show any sort of dedication, especially when you're like 10, 11 clubs just to say that you were in the club. What I did was I took about 3 or 4 of my extracurriculars and I really focused on those, and I kind of built up like experience as well as time in those clubs and programs, as well as running for board and then showing leadership in those clubs as well.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, just when they hear your freaking raw scores, like 4.5 GPA, 4.6 GPA, 1510 SAT scores, they're like, these guys have no life, bro. They spend all night studying, they spend all their time studying, but is that the case?
I mean, it was definitely a grind, just every school night, just trying to do homework and stuff. But then again, that's on my fault for procrastinating and stuff. But I still had a lot of time. I went to homecoming, I went to dances, I went out with friends, I went to the beach and stuff. And it's like, it's important to keep in mind that while school is important, I mean, you're first, like, you got to prioritize yourself and, have fun and stuff. I mean, at the same time, like, if you just, like, focus off schoolwork too, like, you can definitely make a name for yourself and stand out as a student by, just getting involved in other stuff outside of school, like definitely volunteering in your community. And that's still a great way to show that you're more than just your grades.
And I think everyone has a different perspective of what a successful student is. Whether it's good grades or a ton of extracurriculars, everyone studies differently, everyone hangs out differently, so you just have to understand that there's a balance between the two, and just to make sure that you follow through with it. Like me, I studied, or I did homework a lot every night, but I also had a lot of time with my extracurriculars to hang out with my friends and just to get that social aspect of high school in.
Yeah, I mean, I think just keeping that balance between both yourself and your schoolwork and everything like that is super important. I think the kids that I think the only way to get into these schools are kind of to cut off that portion of your life is just it's unrealistic. But how did you guys like balance life and school at the same time? Like, were there times you'd have to just make sacrifices and not go to hangouts as much, or were you just like, did you cut something else out of your life, or what was it?
There were some times where, sometimes you gotta say, oh, maybe I can't hang out today, or maybe I can't hang out this week because, you have a project due or like a paper due that like on that date. But sometimes, I would also bring like my chemistry book or like my laptop to hang out to do homework. And I was like, it wasn't that bad. It was, well, in terms of balancing, it's just knowing where to like, set a limit for yourself. It's like, oh, I shouldn't take 6 AP classes. I shouldn't take 5. I mean, I don't recommend taking more than 4, honestly. 4, 3 is very tough by itself. And it's more about doing well in those classes rather than just taking them for like the, just to show up on your transcript. Like, oh, look, he took this class. But I mean, it's just definitely just taking care of yourself and, really expanding your boundaries as a student.
And honestly, I think it was just my mindset that I pushed everything off to a further date, especially homework. So, this is my mindset. So, like, if the homework is due tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow, So, during, like, the mornings before my next period, I would be doing the homework for the next class. That's kind of how I survived high school.
Look at this. Look at this champion student, bro. UCLA's finest. Oh, man.
Hey, the older you are, the wiser you are. The more you wait, the more smarter you become.
I mean, obviously, I went to community college. I wasn't the greatest student in the world. Now, I would follow the same idea. I mean, I also take AP classes, too. And I agree with you. I think a lot of people are stuck with the idea that we have to overload our schedule. We have to outperform the student right next to us, right? So let's take the 4th AP class. Let's take the 5th AP class. Let's take the 6th AP class. Let's stack as many college courses as we can on top of each other. And then they end up either overstressing themselves out, and then their grades fall because of it, and the GPA falls as a consequence. Or they cut out their social life, and then they leave high school without any memories or friends, and then they wonder why.
I mean, you shouldn't say that about yourself, Matt. Well, what college you get into? You got to UCSD, no?
I didn't get to UCSD. I got to UCSB. I got into TCU, the college I didn't want to go to. Just can't go there for financial reasons. So I got to go to community college and then transfer first. And then that kind of gets me to the next question for you guys. What made you guys decide that college was the route for you? And UCLA specifically? Because, I mean, during this process, I feel like a lot of people are going to discover that their idea and their career choices are going to change. They want to go into medical, but then they found out the school that they want to go into isn't really adept for a medical degree, or they don't have med school at that school. And so their paths are changing a lot in the next couple of years. What made you guys decide that UCLA was the choice for you?
So for me, I was rejected from Stanford, and that's okay. I mean, sometimes you just gotta learn to live with rejection, and that's definitely going to happen if you apply to UCs. I mean, you're not going to get into every single one of them because the admissions process itself is very random. It's like I see, like Steve here, he got rejected by UC Berkeley, but still made it into UCLA. So it's not the end of the world if you get rejected by one, But still, like, it's definitely it's a very good idea to visit campus. Each UC campus is definitely unique in its own way. Like Davis is the largest in terms of acreage, and that's because it's mostly farmland. So if you enjoy like a very open campus, Davis is the one for you.
Yeah, and then as Paul said, the college admissions process in general is very arbitrary. So deciding on a college is usually based on a couple of factors, such as like location or cost. And I feel like cost was a big one for me because each of the UCs offered me financial aid, but they were all about the same price, so it didn't really matter where I went. I would be paying the same price, but the Cal States, I didn't get any financial aid from them, so that was off the list already. So yeah, so between the different UCs, I just decided like where would I want to go, where would I see myself fitting in, and it definitely wasn't SC because, as you know, UC socially dead.
Wow, that's messed up.
To Dino, man.
Yeah.
That's messed up.
And then, so it left me between like UCLA and UC Irvine, and I kind of leaned towards UCLA for like the longest time, just because of how like its academics are good, but as well as its social life. And UC Irvine I felt like was just too close to home for me, and I didn't want to stay that close, and maybe in Orange County, so UCLA.
Yeah, so like as admissions look at you holistically, you gotta look at every campus holistically as well. You gotta take into account every single factor, like Steve said, with the kind of social life there, definitely financial aid. Like for example, I got a full ride to Davis, but I'm not the type of guy to I'm not like a farm guy. I don't really enjoy the large acreage.
You want to mess with the cows, bro?
No, not really. LA I've been looking at for the longest time. And LA is definitely a very good school, so that's why prestige of UCLA as well. It's the fact that it has so many good restaurants up there. UCLA is also the number one in university food, so that was also a very big factor in me committing
Wait,
to
is
UCLA.
that like a category? Did they like
That is
compute
true.
that? Did they got like critics like?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh, they got food critics going to all the universities trying all the food.
Look up UCLA dining hall food.
Yes.
And you'll see what we mean.
Damn, so your food swipes are lit.
Yeah,
Bro,
pretty good.
do you have like gourmet food where like the chefs take the spoon and they do like the little
The
thing
drizzle
with
thing?
the
I'm telling you, bro.
with like the drizzle and then the spread with the puree,
Cause I went up to USC once because my cousin goes up there, and I used this free. He gave me one of his free swipes to use for his dino and all, and the food was already pretty good there. So we already like even better than that. I was like, holy shit, that's crazy, bro.
Mm-hmm. Number one food hall in the country.
Yeah, but I think that's a good point that we're trying to get across right now. Is like there are multiple paths, and then a lot of people when they go into high school, they like it's a one-track mindset, right? let's do this. I gotta take these AP classes. I gotta take this specific route in order to get out of high school with this grade. And then once I hit that minimum grade, I'll get into this college, so on and so forth. But there's a lot of different routes you could take. I mean, there's of course like community college, like what I'm taking and transfer for so and so reasons. And then you guys had UCLA. That wasn't your ideal choice when you guys went to high school, right? But then now, are you guys pretty happy with the result that you guys kind of have right now?
Yeah, I'm definitely more than happy. I mean, UCLA. I actually didn't have a dream school. I was I'm always kind of the go with the flow kind of guy. Like I don't really care what school I really get into. I was completely at it. Like fine if I got into UCSD or UC Irvine. Like I was even fine going to a Cal State. Like if if it so happened to need me, like I would have loved to go to community college to save some money. But the opportunity presented itself, and I got into UCLA, so it's like might as well not take it. I was offered an adequate amount of financial aid as well, so I mean it's like some doors only open once, and you just gotta go.
Yeah, you gotta take it sometimes. You gotta seize the moment.
UCLA was definitely one of my like stretch schools. Not like my safeties, but like my stretch, or even like my dream school, because it's so prestigious that you don't think that you can get in easily. So when I applied, I only applied to 6 colleges, right? I got rejected by one of them, so I got to the other 5, and then kind of my choices were between those 5, and then what I considered during the application process was whether or not I would actually want to go here if I applied to the school. So like, I know a lot of people from my school applied to Long Beach and Fullerton, and even though I knew that I had a good chance of getting in, I didn't apply to those schools because I thought to myself, would I want to go there if I got in? So, and the answer was no, because I didn't want to see everyone again, so.
So you don't want to see everybody again?
No, I'd rather go to community college and then transfer than go to Cal State Long Beach, to be honest.
I kind of agree with that point. It's also why I'm going to community college, again, because I want to transfer to the university I want to go to. And then the second point is because, I don't want to see everybody again. I'm with you on that. So.
I mean, UC Irvine, everyone's going to UC Irvine. If you go to UC Irvine, it's basically high school 2.0 for us, because most of the people we know are going to UC Irvine.
It's like, feeder schools, like, how like Warner fed into like Westminster and so on, like Masuda fed into Fountain Valley. Like every single OC school feeds into UCI, bro.
That is true.
And then I think an important part that a lot of people have difficulty with the most during the application process, at least, is like the personal insight questions, especially with the UCs. How was it for you guys just writing them?
It was a very time-consuming process, so it's not something you want to start off on the night before, because definitely you want to make revisions, you want to have people read over them. And personally, for me, the personal insight questions were just, how do you relay yourself on a piece of paper in terms of words, because they're not going to be there to interview you. So it's all about, like, for me, it was kind of like a puzzle, right? The application readers are definitely the people putting the puzzle together, and the personal insight questions are the very big pieces that help them in piecing together who you are as a person. So definitely, for me, the personal insight questions were like more of a, okay, how do I tell my story in, was it 350 times 4? So that's like less than 1,500 words, so 1,400 words, right? So it's like, for me, each personal insight question was basically a mini short story. It had a beginning, middle, end, and a lot of times that end would be like how I would, kind of relay what I learned in this personal insight question into my life at UCLA. And I think definitely the application readers want to see that as like, how would you apply what you did in this personal insight question as a student here in our school? And I think that is very prominent in many, application processes as well. I mean, there are a lot of different application questions, definitely, outside of the UCs. Like, I know UC Chicago has very interesting questions. Like, they're like, I forgot. Something about hot dog. It's like, what did Fuchs say?
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Yeah, it's just straight up, is a hot dog.
Is a hot dog a sandwich or a hot dog?
No, I think the question was just literally, is a hot dog a sandwich? And that is a very open-ended question. It's like, not all universities will have super open-ended questions or very unique questions like that. But definitely most of them will be very, open-ended. I think they're designed that way in order for you to really be able to tell yourself, tell your story. But I think my advice for writing the PIQs is like, if you're doing like a club event, for example, don't do your whole time at that event. Like, I went to this event. Really hone in on like very important or like very memorable, points in that timeline. Like, oh, you went to this specific event and here you had a bonding moment with etc. person, and don't. They always say show not tell, right? You don't write, oh, I was a very kind, caring, I was very generous, I was very charitable. Don't just write that on paper. You gotta show it. You gotta be like, oh, at this event here, I led this lost kid to find his family again. Stuff like that. Like very standout moments that make that like ultimately allow them to characterize you as this person you wanted. So it's always in your best interest to read over your personal insight questions. Have people read over them and be like, what does this personal insight question tell them about me? And it's not, you can't look at it as like another essay. It's like it's you relating your story onto this piece of paper, or like typing it and just sending it in. So yeah.
And with the college application process, because I know that because of coronavirus, everything has been changing. So the UCs recently announced that they would not be requiring the SAT or the ACT on their application anymore. So it's optional. So for the underclassmen and upcoming seniors, that's kind of like your chance to really shine through your PIQs. And I know that a lot of schools are implementing like a pass-fail kind of grading system. So UCs will be kind of pushing that to the side as well, because they don't know what you actually got in that class. And if it's just pass or fail, they'll know that you got a C or higher, but they don't know whether or not like what the actual grade letter you did, what you got in that class was. And kind of my advice is that since a lot of colleges do release their PIQs months in advance to their actual application deadline. So like the UCs, for instance, I think they open their application on October 1st, and then it's not due until November 30th. So you have a lot of time to kind of review and kind of hone your personal insight questions. And while you're in school, you can also ask your teachers for help, your friends, and other readers who might be able to give you a little bit of insight on what needs to be improved.
Are they available now? Like the UC questions are always available. You can really look them up, and look up UC personal insight questions, and they're always there.
Yeah, the UC personal insight questions have been pretty consistent for the past like couple of years. I don't know if it's been longer, but usually you have 8 questions and you choose 4 to answer. So, and each question it isn't like graded differently. You aren't going to be like judged on what questions you choose to answer. They're all going to have equal like value in your application, but it just matters how you answer those questions that you choose.
Okay, I agree with you guys on your whole point about everything you guys said about PIQs and just the essays that we have to write. And I think the fact that you mentioned this, Steve, the SATs are no longer a requirement for applicants, the PIQs just become that much more important. And a lot of people get locked into like events in their life, like a social event or a specific competition or a meet that they competed in, when they really need to focus on themselves, and then which moments define them as a person and which moments clearly illustrate their character, which is what the universities want to see, is who you are as a person, I think.
Yeah, I think because these questions are open-ended, I mean, you can really write about anything. Like you can I've seen examples where people have written about crossword puzzles, like solving crossword puzzle, and that really shows like their intellectual drive, their determinations. Like you just gotta word it to like show you who you are as a person. I think it's a really big opportunity. I think it's definitely more important than a lot of like extracurriculars and stuff, and like maybe even grade point average, because if you're a good writer and you can really show yourself as a person through that paper, then I think you really have a really high chance of getting in.
Yeah, I think starting early was probably like a really good idea. I started pretty late. I started like a week before it was due, and I remember I spent one night, or it was like 3 or 4 days before it's due. I spent like one night just grinding all 3 of them out. I was like, fuck. I was just like blitzing through these questions, bro. And I was like, oh my god, this is so fucking bad. And I sent it to Khoa, and I was like, Khoa, can you check these out for me? And he went.
No, I remember at a point when Matthew was like the night the application was due, and I was like, Khoa, he's like Khoa, why are my classes not going through? I'm like, what do you mean? Like I'm selecting physical education, right? Because that's a prerequisite for high school, right? It's like, but it's not going through. It's like, so do you select the right physical education? He's like, oh. And he selected the right one. It was a capitalized something. There's a difference. And then he made it through the process. So I mean, definitely try to submit as early as you can, because like the day of, there's going to be a lot of technical issues. The server is going to be definitely overloaded. So you should definitely try to submit as early as you can. but at the same time, don't try to rush through it. Take your time, have people read over, proofread, and
And spelling and grammar are really important for your PIQs, because if college admission officers see that there's a significant amount of spelling and grammatical errors, they'll be like, oh, this person didn't proofread it, or they didn't spend enough time on it, and then your application in total will just be tossed to the side and then denied.
And like another important factor to keep in mind is don't have too many people read over to the point where they kind of overwrite your own individuality. Like, they're like, oh, we should write about this, but like, don't, like, the proofreading is invaluable, but at the same time, you don't want to have them pretty much write it for you, because it is your personal insight questions. It's not theirs.
Yeah, it's too many chefs in the kitchen cooking at one time, and it's because they all sloppy. But then the thing you mentioned about technical difficulty is freaking hilarious, man. So on the last day to apply for both UCs and Cal States, I was last minute on both. So when I was applying to the Cal States through the website crashed. And I was like, what? And then my application couldn't go through. And I was sitting at a loading screen for 2 hours trying to submit my application. And then you need to submit by 11:59 p.m. It was like 11. And I was like, fuck, I'm so fucked. And then they sent an email like, oh, we are pushing back the deadline 2 days because of the deadline. I went, praise the Lord, baby. I'm saved. I was stressing out though, dude. I was like, balls were swaying. Like, everything was pretty nasty, bro. It was getting hella musty. Anyways, that was mostly our college podcast. I mean, they gave a lot of good advice, I feel like. This is one of our more serious podcasts, but I think with just the whole mood of how college is and how everyone kind of wants or looking for guidance during this time. Oh, Steve, what's in your cup, man? Is that my water? It's fucking chips. What the fuck?
Chips in here.
See, that's a UCLA mindset, bro. That's like creativity. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys took some good advice from. I hope you guys took some good advice from that. Please like, comment, subscribe. If you guys have any closing comments you want to let everybody know?
Good luck on your applications. It's gonna be tough, but I think you can definitely do it. I mean, especially in your senior year, it's gonna go on top of your schoolwork, but it's definitely manageable if you just piece it out over a couple. Like, write one PIQ a week. They give you a lot of time to do it. And the questions are already probably available online. So just definitely take your time, write out like a couple first rough drafts, and have people read over. Maybe you want to do something else like later on, because definitely I was like writing one and I was like, oh, I want to do this idea. So it's a good idea. Like, even if you can only choose 4, like write out a couple, like maybe even go beyond 4 questions and see which one is eventually the one that you think best describes you.
A little thought that I just had is that, especially during quarantine, I think UCs or maybe a lot of colleges are going to ask what you did over the quarantine or what you did while you were staying home. And I think it's really important to kind of understand that they're not looking for the Netflix and the sleeping. They want to know what you did to help your community, whether or not it was like leading a protest or showing like your activism in your community, or like maybe volunteering or helping with like shopping for people who can't shop during this time or something like that.
Maybe even self-improvement. Like, you can say like, oh, I learned how to play the guitar, or oh, I learned how to knit, and oh, I learned how to edit videos, something like that. It's like something that's not exactly something like, oh, I've gotten into a fitness regimen.
Built this during quarantine. You guys already see the new studio, bro. You already know what's up. Anyways, guys, yeah, that's the conclusion to our podcast, the college podcast, special edition. Brought to you guys by me, of course, your host, Matthew Nguyen, my special guest, Khoa Vu, Steve Lee.
You can't cut that out.
And then hope you guys are staying safe out there. I know everyone's going through a really tough time, but just stay positive. There's always going to be tomorrow, and then fuck you. Fuck you. All right, we're out. Say bye, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. We're out.
Camera though, because the ice fell over it. So
Peace.
She drive a Maserati, then she got a body. She be tryna party.